I'm standing in the doorway of the house I've owned for 37 years when a stranger tells me I have 30 days to leave. My name is Maxwell Patterson. I'm 67 years old, and 3 weeks ago, my son, DeVito, sold my house without telling me. He forged my signature, emptied my bank account, and disappeared to Florida with enough money to start over, while I had nothing. But here's what David doesn't know. The woman who bought my house isn't a stranger, and what she's about to tell me will turn his entire world inside out. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about what happens when the person you raised to be a man decides you're disposable, and what happens when consequences have a paper trail. I thought I knew my son. I thought blood meant something. I was wrong, but so was he. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you die for, this story will break you. If you've ever wondered how far you'd go to teach someone a lesson they'll never forget, keep watching. Because what happens next, DeVito never saw it coming, and neither will you. Hit that subscribe button right now, because I'm about to show you how a 67-year-old man dismantled his son's entire life without breaking a single law. Like this video if you believe in consequences. Comment below if you think I went too far or not far enough. And smash that notification bell. Now let's dive into it. The knock comes at 9:47 on a Tuesday morning. I'm in the kitchen, the same kitchen where my late wife Rosemary taught our son DeVito how to make her famous apple pie, when I hear it. Not a friendly knock, a business knock, the kind that precedes bad news. I open the door to a woman in her mid-40s. Professional, tailored gray suit, leather portfolio under her arm. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Maxwell Patterson? That's me. My name is Sandra Nguyen. I'm the new owner of this property. I laugh, actually laugh. Because what else do you do when a complete stranger claims they own the house you've been paying a mortgage on since 1988? I think you have the wrong address, I say, already closing the door. Mr. Patterson, please. She pulls a manila folder from her portfolio. I need 5 minutes of your time. Something in her voice stops me. Not aggression, something worse. Pity. I let her in. We sit at my kitchen table, the one I refinished by hand 15 years ago, and she spreads documents across the surface. Official documents. County records, notarized signatures, my signature, except I never signed anything. The sale closed 3 weeks ago, Sandra says, her voice careful, measured, like she's talking to someone who might break. The transaction was handled remotely. Power of attorney was provided by... She checks the paperwork. David Patterson, your son. The room tilts. That's impossible. I'm afraid it's not. Everything was legally processed. I paid $750,000 for this property. The funds were transferred to an account under your son's name. My mouth goes dry. 3 weeks ago? She nods. 3 weeks ago, David called me, asked how I was doing, told me he loved me, said he'd visit soon. He was already gone. There must be some mistake, I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, I'm remembering things. Small things. The way David asked me to sign some insurance paperwork 6 months ago. The way he had access to my online banking for emergencies. The way he stopped looking me in the eye around Christmas. Sandra slides another document across the table. You have 30 days to vacate the property, Mr. Patterson. I'm sorry, I truly am. 30 days. I repeat it like a foreign language. If you need assistance finding temporary housing, I can provide some resources. Get out, she blinks. Mr. Patterson, get out. To her credit, she doesn't argue. She gathers her papers, leaves a business card on the table, and shows herself to the door. The moment she's gone, I pull out my phone. I call David, voicemail. I call again, voicemail. Again, voicemail. On the 4th attempt, I don't leave a message. I just sit there, phone in my shaking hand, staring at the kitchen where Rosemary died, where I held her during those final weeks of cancer, where Davido cried in my arms the night we buried her, where my son learned what love looked like, and then sold it for $750,000. I open my laptop, the one David gave me last year for my birthday, and check my bank account. Balance 0. Worse, he had access. I gave it to him. "Just in case, Dad," he said. "You're getting older. What if something happens?" What if something happens? I was so stupid. I scroll through transaction history, withdrawals, transfers, all authorized, all legal. He bled me dry over 6 months. Small amounts at first, then larger chunks. I never noticed because I trusted him. My son. My only child. The boy I raised alone after Rosemary died when he was 14. I find an envelope buried in my mailbox mixed with junk mail. Postmarked 2 weeks ago. My name in Davido's handwriting. Inside, a single page. "Dad, I'm sorry. I had no choice. The debts were going to destroy me. You'll understand. You always do. I love you. David." I read it 3 times. Then I do something I haven't done since Rosemary's funeral. I cry. Not the quiet, dignified tears of a man who's seen hard times. The ugly, broken sobs of a father who just realized he raised a stranger. But somewhere beneath the grief, beneath the shock, something else is rising. Something cold. Something patient. Rage. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I sit at my dining room table, the one I built with my own hands when David was 5, and I excavate my son's betrayal piece by piece. The laptop becomes my shovel. Email by email. Text by text. Bank statement by bank statement. I reconstruct the last 2 years of David's life, looking for the moment my son decided I was expendable. I find it everywhere. The desperate texts from unknown numbers, all variations of the same message. "You owe us." "Time's up." "Last warning." The emails from online casinos with subject lines like "Your VIP status" and "Exclusive high roller rewards." The credit card statements I was CC'd on, before he removed me from the account, showing charges at poker tournaments in Atlantic City, Las Vegas, Miami. My son has a gambling problem. Had? Has? I don't even know the right tense anymore. I find a spreadsheet hidden in his cloud drive. The one he doesn't know I have access to because I'm the one who set it up for him 3 years ago when his laptop crashed. The spreadsheet is titled, Totals. Current debt, $340,000. I stare at that number until it stops looking like numbers and starts looking like my son's soul price. He sold me for $340,000. No, he sold me for $410,000 because the house was worth $890,000. He dumped it fast, $750,000 cash sale, no inspection, no negotiation. Paid off his debts and pocketed the rest. Enough to start over. Without me. I keep digging. I find messages to his girlfriend, Lydia. Messages about finally being free and new beginnings. Messages about a condo in Miami with ocean views. I find the listing for that condo. Rented 6 weeks ago. Security deposit, $12,000, with my money. I find photos on his private Instagram, the one he thinks I don't know about. Him on a yacht. Him at expensive restaurants. Him smiling. 3 weeks after he erased me, my son is smiling. The rage that started last night isn't hot anymore. It's not the explosive anger that makes you throw things or scream. It's ice. I think about every sacrifice, every choice. Working double shifts at the manufacturing plant so he could go to college debt-free. Co-signing his first business loan when no bank would touch him because he had no credit history. Letting him move back in 3 separate times when his startups failed. The 16-hour days I worked to give him a life better than mine. The years I didn't date, didn't travel, didn't live because David needed a father and Rosemary was gone and someone had to show him what a man looks like. I showed him, and he learned. He learned that fathers are soft, that love makes you weak, that the people who sacrifice for you are the easiest to destroy because they'll never see it coming. At 4 a.m., I try calling him one more time. This time, he answers. Dad. His voice is thick with sleep, annoyed. It's 4 in the morning. A woman named Sandra Nguyen came to my house yesterday. Silence. Long enough that I think he's hung up. Then, Dad, listen. You sold my house. I can explain. You forged documents. You stole my money. You erased me. I was drowning. His voice cracks. Not with guilt, with defensiveness. You don't understand pressure like this. The people I owed, they were going to kill me, Dad. What was I supposed to do? Ask me for help. He laughs. Actually laughs. You would have given me another lecture about responsibility, about making better choices. You would have made me feel like shit for failing. So instead you made me homeless. You're not homeless. You're 67. You'll figure it out. You always do. You're Maxwell Patterson. You survive everything. The ice in my chest spreads. We're done, David. What? You wanted to be free of me? Congratulations. You are. Dad, come on. I hang up. And in the silence that follows, I make a decision. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to explain to my son what he destroyed. I'm going to teach him, the way I taught him everything else, patiently, thoroughly, with consequences he'll never forget. My phone rings. It's Sandra Nguyen. Mr. Patterson, we need to talk. Can I come over this morning? There's something about this sale you should know. I agree, because something in her voice tells me she's not just the buyer. She's something else entirely. Sandra arrives at 8 a.m. with 2 cups of coffee, real coffee, from the cafe on Maple Street that Rosemary used to love. The detail unnerves me more than anything that's happened in the last 48 hours. How do you know I take it black? I ask as she sets the cup in front of me. She sits across from me at the kitchen table. Her professional mask slips just for a moment, and I see something underneath, something personal. Mr. Patterson, I need you to understand something. I didn't buy this house by accident. My fingers tighten around the coffee cup. What does that mean? My full name is Sandra Nguyen Patterson. The hyphen lands like a punch. Patterson, I repeat slowly. I married your nephew, David, 5 years ago. She pauses. Rosemary's sister's son. The room spins. David. Sweet kid. Always struggled, but had a good heart. I paid for his first semester of college when his parents couldn't afford it. Gave him a job one summer when he was desperate. Went to his wedding. I went to his funeral 2 years ago. David talked about you constantly, Sandra says, her voice softening. You were more of a father to him than his own dad ever was. He used to say, Uncle Maxwell is the only real man I know. I remember David at family gatherings, the way he'd seek me out, the questions about life, about work, about being a good husband. The last time I saw him, 3 months before the accident, he hugged me and said, Thank you for showing me what it means to keep your word. I don't understand, I say. What does this have to do with... I'm a real estate attorney, Mr. Patterson. I have automatic alerts set up for properties in certain zip codes. Investment opportunities. She pulls out her phone, shows me a screenshot. 3 months ago, this address popped up. Motivated seller, below market value. Fast closing required. I stare at my own address on her screen. When I saw it was your house, I knew something was wrong. You loved this place. David told me stories about you building the deck, refinishing the floors, planting that garden for Rosemary. She opens her portfolio again, but this time the documents are different. So I investigated. I pulled the transaction records. I found the power of attorney, the one DeVito filed 6 months ago. She slides a form across the table. This is your signature, right? I look at it. It's close. Very close. But the M in Maxwell has a slight difference, a detail only someone who signs their name 1,000 times would notice. That's not my signature. I know, but it's good enough that it passed legal scrutiny. David was very careful. almost perfect. She shows me another document. But he made mistakes, small ones, timestamps that don't match, IP addresses from Florida when he claimed to be here with you, text messages to Lydia about handling the paperwork. You have evidence he forged everything? Enough to put him in prison for elder fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation. Sandra's eyes are steady. 10 to 15 years, minimum. Hope and rage war in my chest. Then why haven't you reported him? She leans back, studying me. Because I thought maybe you'd want to handle this differently. Differently how? The sale is technically legal. David covered his tracks well enough that unwinding it would take years of litigation. By the time you'd get the house back, you'd be 75 and broke from legal fees. So I've lost. No, Mr. Patterson, you haven't. She pulls out one more document. A rental agreement. I legally own this house, and I'm going to keep it that way, for now. But I'm offering you a 12-month lease, $1 per month, ironclad tenancy rights. I stare at her. Why would you do that? Her eyes fill with tears. Because the night before David died, we had dinner. He was talking about his career, about wanting to make you proud. His last words to me before he got in that car were, "Uncle Maxwell is the reason I know what a real man looks like. I hope I make him proud someday." She wipes her eyes quickly, professionally. When I saw what David did to you, I couldn't let him win. David wouldn't have wanted that. What are you proposing? Sandra's expression shifts. The grief disappears, replaced by something calculated, strategic. I'm proposing we teach your son what consequences feel like. I don't want revenge, I say, but even as I say it, I know it's a lie. This isn't revenge, Mr. Patterson. Revenge is emotional, messy. She taps the documents. What I'm offering is justice, systematic, legal, permanent. What kind of justice? She smiles. It's not cruel. It's precise. The kind that makes him feel exactly what you felt. Powerless, betrayed, erased. Sandra and I spend the next 3 hours at my kitchen table, building a blueprint for my son's dismantling. First rule, she says, pulling up documents on her laptop. Everything we do is legal. No physical harm, no harassment, just consequences. I'm listening. David thinks he's free. He's in Miami. New condo. New girlfriend. New life built on stolen money. She turns her screen toward me. But he left a paper trail a mile wide, and I'm very good at following paper trails. She shows me bank records, credit card statements, property records, all obtained legally through her work as an attorney. Phase 1 is simple. We freeze his assets. How? I file a civil lawsuit against him for elder financial exploitation. Not criminal. That would be too quick, too clean. Civil cases are slower, more painful, and the burden of proof is lower. She pulls up a legal form. The moment I file, I can request an emergency freeze on any assets purchased with funds from the sale of this house, which is everything he has. Exactly, his bank accounts, his security deposit on the condo, the car he just leased. She makes a note. Within 72 hours of filing, David will wake up unable to access a single penny. The ice in my chest spreads. This isn't fury anymore. It's calculation. He'll call me, I say. Of course he will. And what will you tell him? I think about that phone call at 4 a.m. The way he laughed. The way he told me I'd figure it out. I'll tell him I don't have a lawyer, that I don't know what's happening. Sandra nods approvingly. Good. Let him think you're helpless, confused. Let him underestimate you the same way he always has. What's phase 2? Social exposure, but not the way you'd think. She opens a new document. I'm not going to blast him on Facebook or call him out publicly. That's crude. That's what amateurs do. Then what? I contact every business connection he has, every investor he's pitched to, every contact on his LinkedIn. She shows me a draft email. Professional, factual, informative. I simply let them know that David Patterson is currently involved in ongoing litigation regarding financial fraud and elder abuse. I attach public records, nothing confidential, nothing illegal, just facts. I read the email. It's devastating in its politeness. What will that do? It will destroy his credibility. Any business deal he's working on will evaporate. Any investor will run. Any professional relationship will turn to ash. She closes the laptop. And the beauty is, he can't sue me for defamation, because it's all true. And phase 3? Sandra pulls out one final document. A trust agreement. This is the part that will break him. I'm creating a trust fund in David's name. $50,000. You're giving him money? No, I'm giving him a choice. She slides the document toward me. He can access this money under very specific conditions. He must complete a court-ordered financial literacy program, 12 months of credit counseling, and he must write a formal apology letter to you, reviewed by a mediator, demonstrating genuine understanding of what he did. And if he refuses, the money goes to a charity, the Elder Financial Protection Foundation, in your name, with a public press release thanking David Patterson for his generous contribution in honor of his father, Maxwell Patterson, whom he financially exploited. I stare at her. That's brilliant. That's consequences. Sandra's expression is unreadable. He can choose his pride and lose everything. Or he can swallow that pride, do the work, and maybe, become a better person. Either way, you win. When do we start? I file the paperwork tomorrow morning. By tomorrow night, his accounts will be frozen. By next week, his entire network will know what he did. She pauses. But Mr. Patterson, I need to know you're ready for this. Ready for what? Ready to watch your son lose everything. Because once we start, there's no stopping, and it's going to hurt. Not just him, you too. I think about Rosemary, about the nights I sat by her hospital bed promising I'd take care of our son, promising I'd raise him right. I kept that promise. Now it's time for David to learn what breaking promises costs. I'm ready. Sandra extends her hand. Then let's teach him. We shake on it. And somewhere in Miami, my son has no idea that his perfect escape is about to collapse. The education begins tomorrow. 3 months into Sandra's plan, and David's perfect escape has become his perfect prison. His bank accounts, frozen. His business connections, gone. His girlfriend, Lydia, moved out after Googling his name and finding the public court filings. His landlord in Miami declined to renew his lease after receiving a courtesy notification about ongoing fraud litigation. I know all this because Sandra keeps me updated. Professional reports, clean, factual. Each one a small victory that feels increasingly hollow. But I don't stop, I can't stop, until the letter arrives. It comes on a Tuesday, delivered by the court mediator as a part of Phase 3, 8 pages, handwritten. My son's handwriting, the same handwriting I helped him practice when he was 6 years old. I almost don't open it, but I do. Dad, the mediator says I have to write this to access the trust fund. So I guess you're wondering if this is real or just me playing the game. Honestly, I don't know anymore. I've spent 3 months in a studio apartment in a bad part of Miami. I work at a call center because it's the only place that would hire me with pending litigation on my record. I make $15 an hour. After rent and the payment plan Sandra set up, I have $43 left each week for food. I know what you're thinking. Good. He deserves it. And you're right. But here's what I need you to know, and I need you to really hear me. I've hated you since I was 16 years old. I stop reading. Read that line again. I've hated you since I was 16 years old. Not because you were cruel, not because you were absent, because you were perfect. And I knew, God, Dad, I always knew, I could never be you. Every shift you worked so I could have new shoes. Every parent-teacher meeting you never missed. Every time you chose me over yourself. It was a mirror showing me exactly how worthless I was in comparison. When Mom died, you became both parents. You were always there, and I hated you for it because I knew I'd spend my whole life disappointing the man who sacrificed everything for me. The gambling started as an escape, a place where I could feel powerful instead of like James Patterson's failure of a son. By the time I realized I was drowning, I'd pulled you under with me. I told myself you'd be fine. You're Maxwell Patterson. You survive everything. But the truth is worse than that. I wanted to hurt you. I wanted you to finally fail at something so I wouldn't be the only failure in our family. I sold your house because I was a coward, and because some broken part of me wanted you to feel as small as I felt every day of my life. The financial literacy program taught me something. I've been running from you my entire life. Not because you were a bad father, because you loved me better than I could ever love myself. I don't know how to fix what I destroyed. I don't know if I can, but I'm trying to become someone who doesn't need to destroy the people who love him to feel like he matters. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. David. I read the letter 3 times. Then I call Sandra. I need to stop. Stop what? Her voice is calm, measured. All of it. The lawsuits, the pressure, everything. Silence on the other end. Maxwell, read the letter again. I did. He's taking accountability. He's taking accountability because he has no other choice, because every other door is closed. Her voice sharpens. If you stop now, what do you teach him? That consequences disappear when he writes the right words? But he's suffering. Yes, he is, and he should. Sandra's tone softened slightly. David used to tell me about the time you made him return a candy bar he stole when he was 9. You didn't just make him apologize. You made him work off the debt at the store for a week. Do you remember what you told him? I do. Saying sorry is easy. Proving you're sorry takes time. Exactly. David is saying sorry. Now he needs to prove it. So what do? You respond, honestly, and you hold the line. I hang up and sit with the letter for another hour. Then I write back. David, I believe you. But belief isn't forgiveness. And forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. You're right about one thing. I did love you better than you loved yourself. That's what fathers do. That was my job. But here's what you got wrong. I never needed you to be perfect. I needed you to be honest, to ask for help, to trust that the man who worked 16-hour days to give you a better life wouldn't abandon you when things got hard. Instead, you looked at me and saw an obstacle, someone standing in the way of your escape. You want to know what hurt the most? It wasn't the house. It wasn't the money. It was realizing that the boy I taught to ride a bike, to stand up when life knocked him down, to keep his word. That boy decided I was disposable. You're in the program. Good. That's not for me. That's for you. The consequences continue. The payment plan continues. This isn't punishment. This is reality. If you want a relationship with me again, you'll build it the same way I built everything I gave you. One day at a time, with no guarantees, showing up even when it's hard. I'll be here, but I won't be waiting. Dad, I send it through the mediator. And then I do something I haven't done in months. I go to Rosemary's grave and tell her about our son. 1 year later, David has paid $6,000 toward the restitution plan Sandra established. He completed the financial program. He's still in counseling. He works 2 jobs now, the call center during the day, and on weekends he volunteers at a nonprofit that helps people with gambling addiction. He hasn't asked to see me. Until today. Sandra calls me on a Sunday morning. He's petitioned the court to transfer the house deed back to you, from my ownership to yours, using every cent he's saved this year. What? He'll be in debt for another 4 years to complete the transfer, but he's doing it. He wants you to have your house back. I'm silent for a long moment. What do I do? That's your decision, Maxwell. But he wants to deliver the documents himself, face to face. I agree. He shows up that afternoon. When I open the door, I barely recognize him. He's thinner. There are lines around his eyes that weren't there a year ago. He looks older, tired. He looks like he's been through something. "Hi, Dad." "David." We sit in the kitchen, the same kitchen where this all began, where Sandra first told me the truth. "I don't expect forgiveness," he says quietly. "I don't even know if I forgive myself yet, but I needed you to know that I finally understand what you gave me, and I'm spending the rest of my life trying to deserve it." "Why are you really here?" He slides the papers across the table. "Because keeping your house felt like keeping the lie alive, and I can't do that anymore." I look at the transfer documents. Everything legal, everything correct. "I'm accepting the house," I say, "but not the way you think." He looks up, confused. "You're going to continue the payments. Not to me, to the Elder Financial Protection Foundation, in your mother's name, every month for the next 4 years. Dad, I'm not finished. You're also going to have dinner with me, once a month, here. And we're going to figure out how to be father and son again. Not the way we were, the way we should have been." His eyes fill with tears. "I'd like that. One more thing." "Anything. Can you stay for dinner tonight?" He breaks, really breaks, the kind of crying I haven't seen since Rosemary died. "Yeah, Dad, I can stay." We cook together. Spaghetti, garlic bread, the same meal I taught him when he was 12. We don't talk about the house. We don't talk about the money. We talk about his mother, about the good memories, about how much she would have hated what happened between us. And somewhere in that conversation I hear my son laugh. Really laugh. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't erase the betrayal or the pain, but it's a start, because revenge didn't heal me. Justice didn't heal me. What healed me was realizing that consequences and love aren't opposites. They're the same thing. And sometimes the hardest lesson to teach is that broken doesn't mean worthless. My son still has 4 years of payments, but last week he brought flowers for his mother's grave. And I realized we're both paying debts we owe. His to me. Mine to the man I want to be. Some stories don't end with villains defeated. They end with 2 broken people choosing to rebuild. And sometimes that's enough. That's the story. The real story. Not about revenge. About what happens when you choose consequences over hatred and love over destruction. If this story made you think differently about forgiveness, subscribe right now. If it made you want to call someone you've been avoiding, hit that like button. And if you've ever been betrayed, or if you've been the betrayer, share your story in the comments below. You're not alone. None of us are. This is what this channel is about. Real stories, real pain, real healing. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Thank you for witnessing my story. And thank you for understanding that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming someone who doesn't need revenge anymore. I'm Maxwell Patterson, and this was my truth. See you in the next one.